Oh hey, didn't see you there. Welcome back to Mel Got Game, where I bring you top plays, top sports news, and breakdowns of the previous week. So if that interests you, please like, comment, and subscribe. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. So every year, there are a lot of rookie quarterbacks that get a chance to go out on Sundays and try to lead their teams to a win. And whether that be them coming in starting, coming off the bench, or getting limited reps, they're still going in there every week to put on a show. Now, typically for rookie quarterbacks, their first season can go either one of two ways. The first being they settle into the NFL, they find a stride early on, they become consistent over the course of the season, and they end up having a very successful first year. Or two, they're thrown in there early, they struggle a lot, they're never really able to find that consistency that you need in the NFL. They do have some times where they perform very well, but for the most part, their season is filled with ups and downs. And for last year's rookie quarterbacks, there were a lot of ups and downs. Now, for a couple of these quarterbacks, their first year absolutely exceeded their expectations, and they really look like they belong in this league. And for the rest of the quarterbacks, hopefully this upcoming season will help them tap into a little bit more of their potential as a quarterback in the NFL. And in this video, we're going to be analyzing the quarterbacks that are going into their second year and seeing which one has the best possibility to outperform the others. So before we get started with this video, go ahead and smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, do whatever you guys got to do to show your support. It is greatly appreciated. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. So for the 2022 season, our second year quarterbacks include Trey Lance, Justin Fields, Mac Jones, Davis Mills, Trevor Lawrence, and Zach Wilson. All right, so who should we start off with first? Let's see. I was thinking Justin Fields, maybe he a hometown hero, he a Georgia boy, but Trevor Lawrence is a Georgia boy too. He moved here and went to Cartersville. Let's see. I think they're the only ones on this list that are from Georgia. No way. You telling me I never knew Davis Mills was from Atlanta? Nah, bruh. He from Atlanta, bruh. He ain't even from just Georgia. He from Atlanta. Nah. I knew I liked Davis Mills, but now I love Davis Mills. That is my guy. We're going to start on Davis Mills first, okay? We're going to put everybody to the side, kick everybody else to the curb. Davis Mills goes first. Now, I promise I'm not just saying this because Davis Mills is from Atlanta. I literally just found this out, I swear. But on this list, Davis Mills might be my favorite quarterback going into his second year. During his rookie season with the Texans, he finished the season with 16 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, and 2,664 passing yards. Now, the Texans drafted Davis Mills out of Stanford with the 67th pick in the third round. And going into the 2021 season, Davis Mills wasn't even expecting to play at all, as the Texans had signed veteran free agent quarterback Tyrod Taylor to come in and replace Deshaun Watson while he was out. Now, due to a poor performance by Tyrod Taylor and an early season injury, Davis Mills got his shot to go in and lead the Texans. Now, don't get me wrong, early on, Davis Mills definitely did struggle. In just his fifth start, he had already thrown 7 interceptions and only 5 touchdown passes. And to top it all off, the Texans had lost every game up until that point with him under center. But as the season progressed, Mills got more consistent as a quarterback, field general, and overall team player. And he got his first win as a professional quarterback in week 15 when he led the Texans to a 30-16 win over Jacksonville, throwing for 206 yards and 2 touchdowns. And the week after that, he threw for 254 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a win over the Chargers, 41-29. So overall in 2021, Davis Mills had a real learning experience. He came in early on, made some mistakes, but then learned from those mistakes, built on them, and really developed into a solid quarterback in his rookie year. And I really liked Davis Mills in his rookie year, especially towards the end of the season. But I can't say that it wasn't a surprise to me that the Texans would be sticking with him for the 2022 season. But that really just shows the Texans' confidence in him and how much Davis Mills has grown as a quarterback in his first year. And with the pretty solid receiving core that the Texans now have, I think Mills will have plenty of opportunities to make some big plays for the Texans. And in his second year, I think Davis Mills will throw for 3,700 yards, 26 touchdowns, and 11 interceptions. Now, moving on to the man out of Ohio State is Justin Fields. Now, the Bears drafted Fields with the 11th pick in the NFL draft in the first round. And for Fields, his season definitely had a lot of more downs than ups. And it was especially disappointing, not just for himself, but everybody else, because they had such high expectations for him. Now, one thing that definitely contributed to the high expectations for Fields was his solid preseason. But after being named the starter for the remainder of the season, Fields only finished with 1,870 passing yards, 7 touchdowns, and 10 interceptions. And me personally, I don't put all the blame on Fields for his poor rookie season. The Chicago Bears offensive line was pretty terrible last year, and he really didn't have a lot of time to throw the ball. But at the same time, I personally just really don't think Justin Fields was ready to be an NFL quarterback just yet. And I know a lot of people have their opinions on Matt Nagy, the former head coach for the Chicago Bears. But one thing I do feel like he tried to do a good job at was refrain from playing Justin Fields too early, but ultimately he just got pressured into doing so. I personally feel like if they would have waited a couple more games, had Dalton as a starter, and maybe Fields rotate in for a couple reps, I feel like Fields' rookie season would have gone a whole lot smoother. But hey, maybe Fields' first season could prove as a learning experience for him moving forward. This next season, he'll be going in a little bit more seasoned and a little bit more understanding of how to turn those mistakes into points and ultimately wins for the team. And with the Bears, I definitely feel like they could have invested a little bit more into their O-line for Justin Fields this offseason than they did. So I definitely think it might be at least one more season until Justin Fields is able to sit comfortably back in the pocket and have time to throw the ball. But with the way things are now, I think Justin Fields for this upcoming season would throw for 3,500 yards, 23 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, and have 4 rushing touchdowns. Now, moving on to our last Georgia man, we got Trevor Lawrence. Now, Trevor Lawrence was selected first overall in last year's draft by the Jacksonville Jaguars. And with everybody seeing how good Trevor Lawrence was playing for the Clemson Tigers, there was no doubt in anybody's mind that he was going to excel at the next level. But unfortunately, Lawrence's first season did not live up to the hype at all. He did throw for 3,641 yards, but he only threw for 12 touchdown passes and had 17 interceptions. And the Jaguars went 3-14, and honestly, this entire Jaguars season can just be looked at as a joke. I mean, it really just centered around Urban Meyer. Him coming in every week with a new scandal, something emerging about his character, something that he's done in the past. I mean, it really was just a mess. Now, even though we can look at stats and determine how well Trevor Lawrence played based on numbers, off the field drama and off the field controversy can really have an effect on an overall team's play, but most importantly, a quarterback's play. And I think Trevor Lawrence's rookie season was a prime example of just that. I mean, imagine being all excited to suit up for your rookie season. Your team just hired one of the greatest college football coaches in history. But then as the season progresses, every week something new emerges about him. And as we watch the 2021 Jacksonville Jaguars, it definitely was taking a toll on their play and Trevor Lawrence's play as a whole. But just looking at how Lawrence played last year, he really was the definition of inconsistent. The only game I watched him play that really reminded me of his college days was the last game in Week 18 when he led the Jacksonville Jaguars to a win over the Colts to eliminate them from the playoffs. And in this game, he threw for 223 yards and 2 touchdowns. And as much as I want to see more of this type of Trevor Lawrence, I just don't know if this one game was a fluke or if this is something that he can build upon for next season. He did have 2 games where he threw over 300 yards, but one of those games, he also threw 3 interceptions. So for this upcoming season, Lawrence and the coaching staff have to have an emphasis on consistency in his play so he can elevate to the next level. And personally, I do feel like he can do that. I feel like Trevor Lawrence has the talent, he has the ability, and I feel like this next season, we will see some real improvements in his play. I mean, the only thing right now that does concern me is the Jaguars receiving core. Currently, their best option seems to be Christian Kirk, who they just picked up from free agency. And he is a solid receiver, but last year, he wasn't even over 1,000 yards with DeAndre Hopkins being out for majority of the season for the Arizona Cardinals. But even with all that being said, I still picture Lawrence having a very solid season. I think he'll throw for 3,800 yards, 27 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, and 2 rushing touchdowns. Now moving on to our 4th quarterback on the list, we got Mr. Big Mac Jones. Now the Pats drafted Mac Jones out of Alabama with the 15th selection in the 1st round. And out of all the quarterbacks on this list, Mac Jones played the absolute best. He finished last season just 199 yards short of a 4,000 yard season with 3,801 yards, 22 touchdowns, and 13 interceptions. And me personally, I knew Mac Jones was good, but I didn't think he would adapt to the NFL this quickly. Early on, Mac Jones was really able to figure out his strengths and weaknesses and used it to help him adapt to the NFL. And as he was adapting, he became a lot more consistent as time went on. There was one game in week 3 where he threw 3 interceptions and 1 touchdown, but after that, we saw a lot more touchdowns, yards, and a lot more wins being put up for the Patriots. And what makes Jones' rookie season more impressive to me is that the Patriots didn't even have a 1,000-yard receiver for this past season, which shows me just how good Jones was at distributing the ball and finding a lot of different ways to make plays, which ultimately led to another playoff appearance for the Patriots. And it's really unfortunate now that any quarterback for the Patriots from this point moving forward will probably get compared to Tom Brady. But regardless of the comparison, I think Mac Jones is really off to a great start with his career. And I think for this next season, Mac Jones will hit the 4,000 passing yard mark, have 30 touchdowns, and 11 interceptions. Now moving into our 5th quarterback on the list, we have the man out of BYU, Zach Wilson. Now Zach was picked number 2 in round 1 in last year's draft. And I feel like out of everybody on this list, Zach Wilson definitely struggled the most as he had 2,334 passing yards, 9 touchdowns, and 11 interceptions. Now I think Zach Wilson's first year is a prime example of a rookie quarterback being thrown into a terrible situation. And not just any rookie quarterback, a rookie quarterback that was not ready at all to lead a struggling Jets team. And even though Zach Wilson did go 2nd overall, he hadn't really been playing much NFL ready talent at the college level. And I really feel like when he got to the pros, it really just hit him like a truck going 90 miles an hour on the expressway. And I honestly think for a quarterback like Wilson, a year under a seasoned, experienced veteran would have benefited him in a lot of ways. And towards the end of the year, Wilson did cut back on a lot of the turnovers he was making earlier in the season. But at the same time, for me, I just really don't know if his ability to read an NFL defense and make quick decisions is developed to the point where it needs to be at this point in time. And especially for a rebuilding team like the Jets who are looking to turn their luck around as soon as possible, if you're a quarterback for a team like that, you need to be developing at a very fast pace. And my opinion is that I just don't think Wilson is really on the development track that the Jets need to be him on right now. But we'll see what this upcoming season brings for the Jets and Wilson. But personally, I just see his arc looking more and more like former Jets quarterback Sam Darnold. And as far as stats go, I have Zach Wilson throwing for 3,100 yards, 18 touchdowns, and 12 interceptions in his 2nd season. Now moving into our 6th and final quarterback from North Dakota State, it's Trey Lance. Now Trey Lance was taken at pick 3 in round 1 in the 2021 NFL Draft. And predicting how Lance may play in the 2022 season is definitely going to be hard to tell considering we haven't seen much of Lance in the NFL. Lance started only 2 games in 2021 and he racked up 603 yards, 5 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. And considering the 49ers quarterback situation is still very much up in the air, Trey Lance may very well see himself playing a limited amount of reps again this upcoming season. But in this past season, in Trey Lance's 2 starts, he split both of those games, winning 1 and losing 1. In his first start, he threw for 192 yards, 0 touchdowns, and 1 interception. In his second start, he improved a lot as he threw for 249 yards, 2 touchdowns, and no interceptions. And in his game stepping in for Jimmy Garoppolo, he threw for 157 yards, 2 touchdowns, and no interceptions. Now looking at Lance's numbers, I mean, they look pretty solid, but at the same time, he has just had such a limited amount of experience in game, and it's just really hard to tell how he'll play. The one thing that we do know, however, is that he is a great runner. He's great on his legs, and that when forced out of the pocket, he can really make something out of nothing. And if the Niners do decide to move on from Jimmy Garoppolo and stick with Trey Lance instead, they'll definitely have a very versatile offense with a lot of play actions and quarterback options being at the forefront of their schemes. And if Trey Lance does in fact become the starter for this upcoming season, I have him throwing for 2,800 yards, 19 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, and 8 rushing touchdowns. So with that being said, the second-year quarterback that I have making the biggest leap in 2022 is quarterback Mac Jones for the New England Patriots. And even though my pick is Mac Jones to play the best in 2022, I think all of these guys on this list have some really bright futures ahead of them and are going to develop into some really good quarterbacks. So guys, that's all the time I have for in today's video. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you did enjoy. Please continue supporting my channel if you like my content. And also, let me know what else you want to see on the channel. With that being said, it's your boy Mel. Have a blessed rest of your day, and I'm out. Peace.